All right, we're going to look at this image and get rid of some of the reflections in the decorative Christmas balls. One thing I want to talk about first of all is the fact that the image to me appears to be very cold, almost on the green side. There appears to be a color cast. So my first guess would be that it was either set on automatic white balance on the camera, which is a bad idea for in the studio, especially when you're using strobes and flashes. You really want to use a custom white balance or create a custom white balance in the studio, especially if you're using the same lights and it's a very controlled situation, as most studio situations are. So you want to capture an image that's very neutral or near to neutral, and or the preset was set wrong or something went wrong with this image. So because you don't want to have to go in and try and fix an image every time you get a photograph. And we can kind of have an idea by going to the window info palette here and setting the picker at 3x3 average. It'll give us a vague idea. And if I just go in this area here, which is kind of a light gray, it's a white blanket, but it's light gray in reality. And if I look at my info, I can see there's a lot of green. You'll notice the RGB right here. There's a lot of green. Look, 222 green, 196 red, and 201 in the blue. So we've got a lot of green in this image. The second number is blue, so the lowest number is red. So it's very much on the cold side, leaning very heavily towards the green. Okay, so that tells me that. So you really want to have a look at that. And it shouldn't be an issue. You shouldn't have to verify your colors unless you're testing and you're working through these issues. But once you get it established, you don't want to have to go to corrective measures. Avoid corrective measures. You should get a good custom white balance or a good white balance and good exposure. Okay, so we're going to have to fix that first. At least that's my suggestion. So let's go to Adjustments, Curves. And I often, if I have a problem image, I try and use the curves gray point if there's a neutral gray area in the image. Now this appears to be a grayish kind of carpet. Let's try it. There, it warmed it up. Okay, let's click OK. Let's go back to our info and let's see if there's a difference. Well, look, there's the reds went up. The greens are still pretty high. Okay, let's compare the two. There it is before. There, see it jump up. Watch the numbers. There's the original. You can tell just by looking at it. And there's the after. So it's not perfectly balanced, but you know, it's close. And again, you don't want to get into trying to make it perfect because it's got that cast problem going with it. But the thing that we can do, just like in my regular workflows, we can go to selective color, decrease the cyan in the red channel by adding more red, or this will increase the reds in the skin tones as well. So in this case, I'm going quite high. That looks pretty good. You don't want to overdo this. You're better less than more. And we'll start with this. I mean, this looks a lot better, so we're going to go with that and stick with that. Now, regular workflow, I might as well run through it all. First step, 20, 60, 0 in the unsharp mask, which was under filter. And as you all know, this is the defog step. It's not a sharpening step. It just boosts the contrast up a little bit and increases the, takes that fogginess away, increases the clarity of the image. So I've already kind of neutralized it a bit. I've increased the reds by decreasing the cyans in the red channel, and I've done a defog, and we might go into hue saturation and just a little bit, punch up the colors a little bit more, not a whole lot, and let's stick with that. And now we're going to go into retouching. Now with children, I generally don't remove a lot of the under the eyes because they're natural creases. But we can take it down just a little bit. If you take it down too much, you know, it's not going to look right. So just a little wee bit. These boys are smiling away, having a great time, looking like Santa Claus. I'm going to retouch the eyes a little bit. Just brighten them up. I'm just doing this out of habit. And we're going to lighten that. We're dodging, actually. I don't know if I mentioned that. Dodge tool. Oh, I'm at a pretty high exposure. Generally, I work in the 20s. Dodge the eyes. You can go into the increase the exposure and go into the eye and really intensify that dodge and create some fake speculars. And they actually look pretty good. You just don't want to overdo it. So we're going to add a little more brightness to the eyes. That it's up to you how much and how little you want to do that. So you notice that that just adds a little bit of sparkle to the eye. All right, let's get rid of the reflection then in the crystal balls. And the way I'm going to do this is by using the clone stamp, and I'm going to go to lighten, and I'm going to go pretty high. Let's try 74. We've got everything showing up in the background there. And we're going to go in and just lighten all those areas. And when I'm done lightening this, using the clone stamp, I'm going to go in and blur it all using the Gaussian blur to history brush just to smooth it out, because I'll never get this absolutely perfect, nor do I want it to be absolutely perfect, because the reflections are a little bit ripply by nature anyways. There's a I'm going to go to normal now. There's a countertoppy thing there. Well, let's keep it on normal. Might speed things along. And just go in there and smooth that over a bit more. I don't know about this. I kind of don't mind that. It's got a Christmas ready thing to it, so it's not bad. There's a big shiny reflection from the umbrella, and that's okay too. So let's go into this area here. Do the same thing. Lighten. And basically it just you see I'm selecting this area and I'm going over to the darker area and I'm saying whatever pixels are lighter or darker, I want you to lighten by a 74% opacity. And sometimes you want to go much lower opacity if you just want to be very subtle about it. But I'm not a very subtle guy most times, so I'm going to go at a 74. Okay, and we got the carpet in there still. Now, you know, if this is an issue, you can crop that out. Or you can go in and rebuild all this area here. Or you can try and dodge it out. But of course, obviously, what you want to do is you want to avoid that by setting your props up while you're shooting. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to see what this gives. I'm dodging right now. I'm at shadows range here. And I'm just going to, I could use the paintbrush if I wanted to. Just going to kill that gray carpet. It looks nice and actually kind of misty. So that's kind of cool. Okay, and you can finesse that a little bit. So that's one way to get rid of the gray carpet. I'm just kind of making this up as I'm going along here. Gaussian blur. So we're going to blur the image. More, lots and lots of blur. There we go. So I'm blurring the image and I'm going to go back in the history brush, history state, put the history brush on the Gaussian blur state, and there's my brush there, and I'm going to go select it. And I'm going to go at a pretty strong blur. I'm going to increase my brush size. I'll just go in there and blur that out a bit so it looks a little smoother. You know, if you wanted to, you could go in there and just simply blur out everything and make it absolutely perfect. But again, why would you want to? So there you go. I mean, what more can you do? I would probably be tempted to go right here and lighten that just, maybe not as high an opacity, but that line right across here, let's just reduce that a little bit more. Right in there. Using the clone stamp, we'll go back to the history brush and just kind of blur it all in there. Simple tools, you know, just create this, sometimes the easiest solutions. So that's it. That's basically the amount of time I would spend on that image to try and fix it. Again, I would remind you to get a good white balance so that you don't have to go in there and do corrective measures, so that your skin tones are enhanced because they're not corrected. They don't need correcting. So as you know, we always hammer that point home that a good image starts with good exposure, good white balance, and a good image always starts there so that you don't actually have to correct it. You get to enhance it a little bit more. So I hope you enjoyed this.